Hey, welcome to our show here tonight. Welcome to We'll Sing and We'll Shout. This is your host, Steve Hansen. Excited to be back in my office here in Provo, Utah, after my trip to Thailand. So tonight I've got my elephant shirt on here, and I've also got my elephant pants. Can you see that, Shiro?
Yeah, they're
Pretty
awesome.
pretty classy. These are like totally loose and comfortable.
Yeah.
Um, I wanted to get a true Thai like suit, like dress outfit type of thing, but I didn't find the right store over there for that.
Yeah.
But I will at some point. So, but yeah, kind of fun. We really had an amazing experience over there. Really enjoyed the whole thing. The 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 time change is exactly, well, it's 13 hours from here, and so you're on the exact opposite time of the day, and that took a few days to get used to once you get over there, of
Oh,
course.
I'm sure.
And then, but what has been even worse is now that I'm back home, now my body doesn't know what the heck is going on. And so we got back home here Saturday around noon, and I was fine all day Saturday, and then I got up and went to church on Sunday. But boy, Sunday afternoon, I tried to take a nap, and when I got up from that nap, which didn't go very well, I felt like I'd been hit by a 2x4.
Yeah.
And just the rest of that afternoon and evening, and then I woke up at 4 o'clock this morning after getting some pretty good night's sleep. But then this afternoon, it's been the same thing. I'm just really fighting a battle, just trying to keep myself awake so I can try to get back on schedule. But it seems like the first transition is hard, but the transition back is even harder, especially if you're making both of those in a reasonably short period of time. So
Kind of gives
um,
you a feeling for what people who have to switch work shifts a lot, what they must go through.
yeah, yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
So and I'm fortunate that I don't know that I've ever had to
Work nights.
do do that very much. Um, so seems like maybe one time I did, but
Martin
oh,
had
you
to
know
work
what?
nights a few times, but he hated it.
I did work nights at one point, and yeah, it was a lot to get used to. So it's really hard on your body when your body knows you're supposed to be in bed. Uh, so hey, I so my fasting over there went really well the first 4 or 5 days, but when we went to Phuket, no, it's Phu. You always have to remember the Phu. It's Phuket. When we went to Phuket, we had a breakfast buffet was a part of our stay there. It was free, and it was this amazing breakfast buffet. It looked great, and so I was like, but I also knew that I would want to be eating later into the evening. So I decided after being on this fasting protocol for 8.5 months that for these, 3 or 4 days that I was going to be in Phuket, that I was going to throw this program out the window for a few days and just eat what I wanted when I wanted. And
Vacation.
and yeah, I was vacation, and obviously I've
Hmm.
earned it,
Yep.
and I did that, and and especially on the way home, I was eating, that Whopper cheeseburger at the Bangkok airport, and yeah, I was just eating a lot more than I normally would have, especially on my program. And when I got home, I weighed 190 pounds, and when I left here, I weighed 177 pounds.
Mm.
Now, one of the things that happened though was within the first 24 hours of being home, I lost 5 pounds.
Oh,
So
yeah. Your
a lot of
body hates to travel.
yeah, that a lot of that was just travel weight. And
Yep.
however that came off, I don't even know, but it came off. And since then, I've lost another 4 pounds. So it's coming
Right.
back off really fast. But the thing I will say is that I really, really did not like the feeling of getting off my fasting program. I mean, that really affected me in a negative way. And I'm just not going to do that again. It just wasn't worth it.
Right.
Um, so I wanted to share this thing that you and I were talking about earlier, Cheryl, about serotonin, because I was listening to a science call earlier this evening, and we talked in the past about how much mom was affected by her metabolic health or lack thereof. And one of the things I've learned, many people probably know this, but serotonin is one of your happy hormones, and it causes you uh, to stabilize your emotions, and it also improves your sleep quality. And when your serotonin is a good place, you can feel happy and well, and everything's fine. But when it's not, you can feel agitated and just all sorts of negative things.
Hmm.
Um, Serotonin is crucial for stabilizing mood, creating a sense of well-being, and reducing anxiety. All pretty important things if you're trying to be mentally well and stable. And one of the things that we learn is that 90 to 95% of your serotonin is produced in the gut, and the other 5 to 10% is produced in the central nervous system. Um, so if your gut is not healthy and your serotonin is not healthy, it is really difficult for you to be mentally healthy. And so when we think about mom and all the struggles that she had, we can
Yeah.
see that it was, directly related back to her gut health, which she always struggled with. So such a huge thing to
Yeah,
just
you know what? That woman could
improve
put
your
away
gut health.
some bread. And I think a lot of it has to do with the yeast. I know when
Yeah,
the yeast is multiplying, especially for women, that can really be a problem. And like I always notice if I have yeast problems because I'm so freaking grumpy. So
right.
yeah,
Huh.
that can really mess with you.
Well, and I very much subscribe to mom's mentality that, you know, you wanted fruits and vegetables and whole grains were like, the key part of your diet. And then you throw in some lean meats and proteins like that,
Hmm.
and then try to eat as little of the sugar and processed stuff. And that's a pretty good plan. Like there's a lot of good to that. But if you don't understand how that's affecting your hormones, insulin and GLP-1, and she didn't understand that, then that program can lead you astray really quickly. And so that's what got the woman in trouble. That's why she struggled so deeply, and why it created so many problems for the rest of us. But but hey, we are on here tonight not to talk about health issues or serotonin or weight loss or anything like that. We're on here to talk about Cheryl's next boyfriend, which is this segment number 8
8.
that we're
Yeah.
doing here tonight. And
This
so
whole
this
thing
is
seems so absurd, but it's pretty funny.
this is the Cheryl's
Countdown.
boyfriend's countdown calendar. We still haven't created the calendar yet, but we will.
Oh, yeah, I got to do that.
But we are 8 weeks into this, and this is another one that comes from the Bellevue Junior High. And the Bellevue Junior High is what once was the Bellevue High School right in downtown there. And the Bellevue Junior High was probably my favorite year of school, which most people talk about middle school and they're like, oh, they hated middle
Hated it.
school. It was a
Yeah.
terrible time for them, whatever. I loved my year of 8th grade at the junior high. I thought that building was fantastic. It had the pool in the basement. Um, I loved the whole experience there in junior high.
And the
So
stairwells where the guys could look up and see up the girls' dresses.
right, yeah, I don't
Yeah.
know that I took advantage of that as much as I should have, but uh, I'm not going to share a dress experience on the stairwells tonight, but I will have one that I'll share here soon.
Okay.
So, but it's not quite the way you presented it, but it's similar.
Mm.
So I'm going to let you talk about your next dating thing, and then I'm going to hop in here and share one of my experiences from the junior high.
All right.
So it's all good.
Well, so this is ninth grade. Cheryl's in ninth grade now, and I was still at the junior high because it was after my ninth grade year that they moved the ninth grade to Bellevue High School. So eighth and ninth grade went all the way over to the high school together after my year. But so I guess I was the last class of ninth graders to go through Bellevue Junior High, which is interesting.
Yes, you were.
Um,
Yep.
but I love that building too. We had a really, really nice stage there that was also their basketball and a huge auditorium. And of course, the pool, which I didn't really like because I didn't like swim class. I enjoy swimming, but I didn't like our particular gym swim class. Um, and then the choir room was really neat. And we had the balcony up there for the auditorium. It was just a really cool building. It was. But so one of the guys I got to know in ninth grade was actually an eighth grader. I actually ended up dating a lot of underclassmen through my years in school. But see, I wasn't picky at all.
You
I
took you
have
took all
no,
you took all comers. Yeah.
yeah, anybody that would flirt with me, I'd go out with them.
Well, when you were a senior, you were dating a freshman there for a
Yeah,
while,
Jeff
and
Doster.
last year, yeah.
Yep. Oh,
So,
now we let the secret out, cat out of the
oh,
bag.
yeah,
I'm sure Jeff will be tuning in to hear his episode.
yeah.
So I got to know this guy named Matt Canode. It's kind of like commode, but with an N. Um, And I honestly don't remember how we met, except it might have been in the hallway. I don't think we had a class together because I was a freshman. He was an eighth grader. If we would have, it might have been like typing class or something like that that both grades would have taken. But I honestly think we just met in the hallway because he was just a larger than life personality and I kind of was too. And he was always goofing around. I don't know if it was Doug Avery that introduced me to Matt. I think that's a possibility because Doug and I were friends and he was in that grade. But kind of a big guy. And actually, he kind of grew faster than the other guys. I think he was like a full grown man in eighth grade. Do you remember
He
that?
was, yeah, he was big in eighth grade, and he had the
Yeah.
big fro. He had the big fro. Yeah.
Yeah, he was a big dude. So he looked like, he looked older than he was. But he just had a super quirky sense of humor, not a super good looking fellow, but just a huge personality. And I just enjoyed his company and we'd kind of chat together in the hallways. And so we would pass notes and eventually we became boyfriend, girlfriend, whatever you call it in junior high, going steady or whatever. But
Right. Yes.
so at the time, we actually lived in Bellevue, very close to the junior high, because my mom had insisted, one of her mental illness things, she had insisted that we move from the farm. And so we rented a house very close on High Street there, I think, very close to the junior high. So we used to walk home from, I used to walk home from school. So sometimes instead of going home, I would go over to Matt's house or one of his friends. Do you remember whether that was Matt's house or somebody else's house that we would go hang out in the basement, Steve?
I don't remember. I don't remember. I certainly remember the house on High Street. I don't remember what you're talking about there.
Yeah. Well, after school, sometimes I'd go hang out with the whole group of kids. It wasn't just me and Matt, but we'd go
Right.
down in someone's basement. It was sort of like that 70s show, that kind of just funny basement where all the kids hung out because the parents didn't want them upstairs.
I
And we'd
don't
watch
think
TV and
I don't know that I was a part of that. That might have just been some. I mean, I was in seventh grade, so I was coming from Thompson.
right.
So I don't know that I was a part of that. I might have been missing out on that. I probably wanted to be there because some other
It was,
people were there, but
that's
but
right.
anyway.
There would have been like three boys and three girls, and we hung out down there. I'm serious. It is really like that 70s show. When I think about that's pretty hysterical. Probably had a lot of this. If you look at the 70s show set, probably had a lot of the same things in his basement. But we just hang out and watch TV or whatever, goof around, play games, play cards. In Bellevue, we were really into euchre. I used to
Right.
play euchre a lot with Job in high school, and so we'd sit around and play cards. And if you don't know what euchre is, you're missing out. It's really a lot of fun. And then I do remember just having a little smoochie with Doug or not Doug, with Matt on the couch in the basement there. I don't know if other
Okay.
people just left the room or turned their heads or whatever, but anyway,
Right.
I guess what you'd call made out.
Right.
Nothing serious, obviously.
Yeah.
But so I would see him in the halls, and I don't even remember how it fizzled out. I don't know if he just went on to another girl or if I went on to another guy, or we just kind of decided. A lot of my breakups were just kind of mutual, like, let's go somewhere else. But
Got one.
but we stayed friends. We always stayed friends. And in fact, he was my friend on Facebook until quite recently. He passed actually, maybe like a year or two ago.
Really?
Yeah, I don't remember what, some sort of illness or health issue, a heart thing or something. I don't really,
Oh,
I don't know that I was ever told what he passed from, but he did pass away fairly recently. But even then, he was my friend on Facebook, and we'd chat once in a while on Facebook, and we never had any bad feelings towards each other or anything. So just kind of a larger than life guy. When I look back at a lot of my boyfriends, he really stands out just because he was super funny, real quirky personality, and I just really liked him. So, so on to you, Steve, and your junior high story.
right. Well, I think it's interesting. I'm sure Bellevue was not unique in this, but this was a time in the late '70s, early '80s, when people were always just seeking to pair up and to have to have a
Oh
boyfriend
yeah,
and
now
girlfriend
kids
kind of thing.
hang out with a group, but
Um,
we wanted to be going steady or going together. I
yeah.
guess that's what we called it. Yep.
Well, and I think a lot of that maybe came from watching Happy Days. Um,
Mm.
Perhaps that wasn't a main but you learned that from the TV shows that you were watching, that
Yeah, Fonzie always had a girl.
you were supposed to be going study and whatever. I don't know, but you had it going on all the time, and I always wanted it to have it going on, but it really didn't have that much. Certainly not anything of your magnitude. But um, here a couple of weeks ago, I talked about uh, my fondness for Kim, and I'm not going to share last names, but um, and I talked about how she had written me that note there the one day in the junior high, and how I had never responded to it. And it was literally, and the reason I didn't respond to it isn't because I didn't really like this girl. It's because I liked her so much, I was almost afraid of my feelings for her. Like I didn't even know how to respond to that. And it was only about a week or it was only about a week or two later that she started dating Dobie, as you and I talked about. And I think it was that same time frame, literally that same week, that Kathy started dating Duffy, and Lisa started dating Tim.
Him. Right.
And I think this all happened pretty much like at the same time. Now, Tim and Lisa are still together, and have been all these years. Obviously, these other relationships lasted for some period of time, a year or two or whatever. But that is, and that was like a new thing to me. Like, how can these girls from my class start dating these older boys? Isn't there some kind of rule against this or something? Like, now I've got to compete with these guys. How am I supposed to compete with these guys? They're a year older than me. They're bigger than me. They're scoring more touchdowns and more baskets than me. It was obvious that Kim was now out of my reach because she had gone off in a different direction. And I really had a bit of a broken heart about that whole situation, because it's like I didn't know how to. And I wonder, like, if I had responded to that note, would I have been able to start some kind of a relationship with her,
Before she
and
started dating Joey.
and would have that impacted that situation? Like, I don't know, but I certainly would have wanted to. And if I had, I can guarantee you, I would not have ever been the one who would have broken that relationship off. That would have never happened.
What's so
So
funny is what happened after that, which, I mean, it's just you and I are just involved left, right, and sideways, but I guess we can go
yeah,
into that another time.
yeah. So, but what did happen though, it didn't happen right away, but within about a month, there was this girl in band with me who, and I think I found out about it through her older sister Angie, that had a crush on me, and somehow this came out, and I started hanging out with this girl named Heather, who was in seventh grade, and of course I was in eighth grade. So now at the junior high, instead of eighth and ninth, it was now seventh and eighth grade. So this girl Heather in seventh grade somehow let me know that she liked me, and we'd started hanging out some.
She
And I
was
think
so
one of the
cute too. I remember how cute she
she
was.
was she was a cute girl in junior
She had
high,
the little flippy hair.
and she was a beautiful girl throughout high school, and then she got married. I think she was even pregnant her senior year of high school, and got married. I remember being over at their apartment um, right after graduation, and she had this newborn baby there. So yeah, she was pregnant. In fact, that was her junior year because it was our senior year. So here was Heather with a newborn baby right there around May, June of 1984. It must have been born around May of 1984.
Well, that wasn't
So
so shocking at that point in time, like it had been like in the 50s or 60s.
yeah,
So,
yeah, yeah, for sure, with different times. But
yeah.
but um, but Heather really stepped in there and healed my broken heart, because I really did have a bit of a broken heart about this situation of these girls in my class dating these older boys, and I just felt like somebody was breaking the rules here. But Heather took interest in me. One of the first things we did shortly after our little relationship started is we were over at her house there on Greenwood Heights. And her house, if you know where Union Street is,
Yep.
her house is maybe two or three houses south of Union Street on the east side of Greenwood Heights.
So real close to
And
where Grandma and Grandpa lived when they rented in town.
yeah, really just a block and a half away.
Yep.
So we went over there after school one day, and one of the rules in the house was that they weren't allowed to have boys upstairs at all. But she wanted to show me her bedroom, so her sister Angie came up there with us to chaperone and make sure that we would be okay, up in this bedroom. And, just in case we got up there and started tearing our clothes off or something. But so so Angie was up there chaperoning, and I'm pretty sure that the bedroom was on the front side of the house on the Greenwood Heights side, if I'm remembering. I mean, I was up there one time for like 5 minutes,
Right. Yeah.
but it's like I remember that bedroom being on the front side, the Greenwood Heights side of that house. It would be interesting if I'm remembering that correctly. But so we were over at her house one time. She would write me these little football notes, but I think and I think our relationship probably lasted 2 or 3 months. But I only got like 3 or 4 of those little football notes. So she wasn't somebody who wrote a lot. And even when she would write me a note, they weren't super long. I also remember we went to a Bellevue football or a Bellevue basketball game, and we sat. I wore this black shirt. We sat in the very first section in the southeast corner of the what is that, an
Gym.
auditorium?
The gym.
Gym, yeah. So
I
and
can picture
usually,
right where you're talking. That's kind of the student section. That makes sense.
yeah, well, I was about 2/3 of the way up, sat there beside Heather. I don't know that I ever held her hand. I don't know that I even ever touched her skin, but we hung out for three months and had this perfectly innocent relationship.
Did you guys walk to
Um,
Burger King after the game? That was always the big thing. No, Burger
well,
Chef. We
Burger
all
Chef,
used to
yeah.
walk down Burger Chef
I'm sure we did. I don't specifically remember that, but I'm sure we did.
or Burger Chef.
And
They must have got so tired of all of us just coming in there, taking
pouring
over.
in there, yeah.
Yeah.
Usually for those basketball games, I would sit down with my friends right on the middle, on the very first and second row, right in the middle on that same east side. We would
Hmm.
sit down there. This was eighth grade. You had John Green and one of the Lepley boys, Danny Lepley. You had
There was
who were
someone
the
named
other
Kelly, tall
Kelly
guy
Kelly
named Kelly.
Kelly Gibson. Kelly Gibson
Yep.
was the center. He was 6'5",
And
and then you
Casey
had
Beamer.
Casey Beamer and Brent. What was Brent's last name? Um, Brent. Do I want to say Brent Smith? Is that right?
Yeah,
But,
yeah, yeah. I think you're
yeah,
right. All of a
Brent
sudden,
Smith.
his face popped into my head as
So
soon as you said his name.
he had a little fro thing going on
He
too.
had the afro. Yes, I could. I was gonna say that. Yep.
So those, and then Bill Nasani would come off the bench. Those were your 5 starters, and those guys were all seniors.
I
And then
have a funny story
Would
about Bill Nasani. I'll tell you later.
Bill Nasani would come off the bench, and some other, and who was the other guy that would come off the bench from the junior class? But we had high hopes in Bellevue that year that we were going to do amazing things, because this was John Green's senior year, and of course it was John Green's dad, Bob Green, that led Bellevue to the state championship. So we all thought,
Back in
with John
45.
Green, we're going to do amazing things. We're going to, go win a state title, but they had the hardest time beating Willard that year.
Yep.
In fact, I think they lost to Willard 3 times that year. I don't think
Oh,
they lost to anybody else, but they lost to Willard.
yeah,
Uh,
damn Willard.
I remember the night that we were playing at Willard. My friends and I were walking around town, and we stopped in the Bellevue Beverage Center, and we found out that Bellevue was up by like 13 points at that point. But somehow Willard ended up coming back and beating Bellevue.
I think I was at that game too, and I remember how painful it was.
But yeah, Bellevue was up big in that game. So that's Heather came along and saved me from my whole Kim broken heart thing, and dated me pretty much all winter long, and we just hung out a few times, and it was just fun coming to school knowing that you had this cute little girlfriend there at school every day.
I remember you being
And
happy during that time period.
oh well, when you're dating Heather, how can you not be happy?
Well, yeah.
Now, my next story, maybe I'll share this next Tuesday night, will be about my next relationship, because there was a boy there at the junior high that really didn't like me dating Heather, and so somehow he ended up breaking up with his girlfriend, and he started dating Heather, and then his girlfriend started dating me, and so
That's awesome.
and so that's kind of how that relationship. But we'll talk about her, about that amazing person. In fact, the girl that I dated next, I dated her for 10 weeks. That is the longest I ever dated anybody until I met Heidi.
Yeah.
Like 10 weeks. That was the max that any girl could put up with me. So so Heidi's been at this
I
for
put up with you my whole life.
Heidi's been at this for 37 years. So
Yeah.
um But anyway, so that's my story about Heather. Loved little Heather, and she's still a Facebook friend to this day. In fact, I messaged her friend, or I messaged her sister Angie before this started, and just let her know that I was going to be talking about her
Talking
today,
about Heather.
and the fact that Angie had been our chaperone upstairs there. So,
Well, do you want to
um,
hear my Bill Nasanti story real quick?
yeah, tell us about Bill.
Okay, so Bill, my sophomore year was Bill's junior year, and he had flunked English. His sophomore year, he had flunked English, so he ended up back in English again with my grade. So there was all of us sophomores and Bill Nasanti in our English class, and it was Mrs. That started with a G. You liked her,
Mrs.
Gar
Guerrero.
Guerrera. She was our teacher,
Okay,
and somehow Bill ended up sitting right beside me.
right.
So I still remember I was the second row over from the door and Bill was the row by the door. And he was just a little bit back to my right. And he would just constantly tease me, throw stuff at me, whatever. He was just annoying as heck. But when we would get to the spelling tests, he would be trying to look over at my paper. And so I would try to hide and cover up. And because I like, if people think I'm cheating with Bill Nasanti, they're going to, like, Mrs. Greer is going to take my paper away and give me an F or something. So every week he tried, though. And he was just so funny. He was just always like, Cheryl, help me with my homework, and typical jock behavior. Like, of course they get their way because they're a big jock and they're good looking and everything. But interestingly enough, when I was living in Bellevue and I was a realtor there, I actually helped Bill's youngest, no, I think it's his, yeah, it was his youngest daughter, to buy a home. So Annette and I can't remember her name right off the cuff, but anyway, I helped her buy a house on Greenwood Heights.
Okay.
So yeah, so I got to work with Annette and their daughter, and the younger daughter looks just like Bill. The older daughter looks more like Annette, but they were high school sweethearts too. She was a cheerleader, and they ended up married, and they're still married.
What was Annette's last name?
Oh
Do you
golly,
know? And
it's,
is Bill one of
he's
your
on
Facebook
Facebook.
friends?
Well, I know she's on Facebook. Annette Nasanti, look that up.
Uh, um,
And her sister was a cheerleader also, and might have been in your grade, or just maybe in Sherry's grade. She's a
uh,
blonde and real
Annette,
cute.
it wasn't.
I think
Um,
she I think she was a cheerleader too. Well, I'll come up with the answer for you and get it to you. But anyway, they're sisters, and I still see pictures with Annette and her sister on Facebook.
I just found out a picture of Bill Nasanti here and Matt Canota standing beside him.
Oh my gosh, that's funny.
Um, yeah, it's a picture of Matt and Bill. But yeah, here's Annette Nasanti. Um, I could throw up a friend request here. But
Her
yeah,
sister's name was Lisa.
Lisa, Lisa,
Blonde hair.
oh,
And who?
okay. She married Lisa Carter. She was Annette
Yeah.
Carter.
So Annette
Yeah,
Carter. There you go. Yeah.
yeah. Well,
And she
I
was a
don't.
cheerleader, Lisa Carter, right?
No, Lisa wasn't a cheerleader.
Okay. I don't know
Certainly
why I
could have
thought she was.
been.
Yeah.
Lisa would go down to Florida every spring break and come back with these tan legs, and you'd have to
Was
walk
she in
around the
your grade
hall.
or
And
Sherry's?
Lisa was in my grade, yeah,
Okay.
but she would go to
And
Florida every spring break and come back with these tan legs and show off these tan legs.
who did she
Um,
marry?
she uh, she married Dwayne Burkhart,
Ah, there we go. Yeah, yeah,
and
yeah. That's it.
and
Yep.
Dwayne just retired. I saw his retirement thing, and then they have two sons who look like they're doing wonderful things, and so yeah, two really great Bellevue marriages there for sure.
Yeah, I never got to
Yeah,
date Dwayne, but I had a crush on him because he had that bright red hair, and I always liked red hair on guys for some reason.
yeah.
So,
Dwayne was really. I mean, I didn't know him really well, but Dwayne seemed like a
yep,
really good guy.
he was a good guy.
Um,
Yep. And then there
he
was
he
Tim, someone who had like strawberry blonde hair, and
he
Tim and
did.
Dwayne were really good friends, and I kind of had crushes on both of them.
Dwayne got crosswise with Mr. Cox there a little bit. I don't know that whole history by any
Oh,
means,
land shark.
but I know Land Shark. I know Land Shark and him didn't get along very well, and
No,
so
younger kids wouldn't even comprehend what land shark means. That's really funny. Look it up, you guys. Look it up.
so
We called
Anyway,
our assistant principal Land Shark, so it was
right,
just kind of a funny joke.
right.
But all
Well,
right.
we're into this half hour. We should probably let everybody go. But hey, thanks for jumping in here. And we will talk about something amazing tomorrow night on your favorite show. We'll sing and we'll shout, and we will catch you then.